Welcome to True Horror Vault. Today's event took place many years ago. It is an experience that even today, some forest rangers in the deep woods of the Pacific Northwest of the United States discuss only in hushed whispers. Its full explanation was never written in official government records. Most of those who lived through this incident never returned to those woods again. Today, I will tell you the eyewitness account of someone who was there. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself. Because there are some forests where, after nightfall, humans are no longer alone. Story: the forest where something was calling our names. This incident happened about 16 years ago. My name is Ethan Matthews. It was the last week of September 2009. I was only 28 years old at the time. I used to live in Eugene, Oregon. For a few years after finishing college, I worked photographing wildlife in various national forests. The silence of the forest had always drawn me far more than the noise of the city. Even today, after all these years, whenever I catch the scent of pine trees, my chest suddenly goes cold. Because that scent takes me right back to a week, one I couldn't forget even in exchange for my own life. That morning, my friend Sarah called me. "Ethan, I've found a great spot this time." I smiled and asked, "Another mountain trail?" She replied, "No, even deeper this time. A part of the Umpqua National Forest where ordinary tourists almost never go." We were joined by another friend, Lucas Henderson. He was a former Marine. A cool-headed guy. The word fear simply didn't exist in his dictionary. 3 days later, we set out in an old green pickup truck. The city was gradually fading away behind us. Ahead lay only an endless expanse of green. After driving for hours, we reached a point where mobile phone signals completely vanished. At the very last tiny gas station, an elderly attendant was filling our fuel tank. Seeing our backpacks, he asked, "Where are you folks headed?" As Sarah unfolded the map and pointed out the location, the smile vanished from the old man's face. He stayed quiet for a few seconds and simply said, "Make sure you come back before it gets dark." Lucas chuckled and asked, "Scared of bays?" The old man shook his head and replied, "If it were bays, it wouldn't be a problem." After that, he didn't say another word. Back then, we brushed it off as mere local superstition. Looking back today, if only we had listened to him that day. By late afternoon, the paved road came to an end. After that, a narrow forest trail began. The pine, fir, and cedar trees were so tall that the sunlight faded to a pale glow before it could even reach the ground. The air inside the forest was unnaturally cold. There was such deep silence all around, as if the entire forest was holding its breath, staring right at us. After walking for nearly 2 hours, we found a small clearing. A narrow mountain stream was flowing nearby. We decided to set up camp right there. As soon as the sun went down, the temperature began to drop rapidly. Sitting by the fire and sipping coffee, we were chatting. Sarah suddenly spoke up, "Have you guys noticed?" I looked at her. "What?" "I haven't heard a single bird chirp since this afternoon." I listened closely to our surroundings. It was true. No sound of crickets. No birds. Even the sound of the stream felt unnaturally muffled. All around us, there was only silence. Lucas laughed and said, "You've been watching too many horror movies." Yet even in his voice, the usual confidence was missing. Night fell. The sky was filled with stars. The fire was dying down. I was checking my camera's battery. Just then, thump, thump, thump. I raised my head and looked around. The sound was coming from inside the trees. Slowly, in a perfectly steady rhythm. I thought maybe it was an elk. But a few seconds later, I realized this wasn't the sound of a four-legged animal walking. It was a bipedal creature. I called out to Lucas. He switched on his flashlight and cast a beam into the darkness. No one was there. The sound stopped as well, just as we sat back down by the fire. "Crack!" Sarah whispered. That was very close. Lucas stood up this time. "I'm going to check it out." I didn't let him go alone. The two of us stepped forward holding flashlights. Beyond the circle of light lay only rows of black trees. Suddenly, I noticed, on the soft mud, a row of footprints, like a human's, but unnaturally long. And the strangest thing, the footprints were coming toward our camp. They didn't lead back out. I swept my flashlight beam around in every direction. There was no one. No one at all. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Right at that moment, then, I froze. That voice! It was exact to my late father's voice. He had passed away nearly 5 years prior. I couldn't say a word. Lucas looked at me and asked, "What happened?" Before I could answer, Sarah screamed from the camp, "Ethan! Lucas! Come back! Quick!" We ran back to the camp. Sarah's face was completely pale. With a trembling hand, she pointed behind our tent. As I shone the flashlight, my heart froze inside my chest. On the soft ground, right next to our 3 sets of boot prints, was another pair of brand new human footprints, as if someone had been standing there just seconds ago, staring at our tent. Yet nearby, there was no one at all. And right at that very moment, Ethan, Sarah, Lucas, our 3 names, all together, echoed from 3 different directions of the forest. And back then, we still didn't realize. This was only the beginning. None of the 3 of us could speak anymore. For the first time, Lucas pulled out a small revolver alongside his flashlight from his waist. He said in a low voice, "Whoever it is, they are playing games with us." But I knew, if it were a human, we would have seen someone by now. Right then, that voice spoke again. "Ethan." This time, the sound came from my right. The moment I turned my flashlight toward it, the sound shifted to the left. As soon as I turned the light again, it moved behind us, as if someone was standing hidden in the darkness, watching our every move. Suddenly, Sarah said in a trembling voice, "Look over there." For a few seconds, the beam of the flashlight touched a human figure between the trees. Very tall, motionless, its face was hidden. In the very next moment, it melted into the darkness. Lucas ran after it. I shouted, "No, come back." But he didn't listen. About half a minute later, Lucas's voice echoed from deep within the woods. "Ethan, come here." Sarah and I sprinted forward. But when we arrived, Lucas wasn't there. Only his flashlight lay on the ground. The light was still on. The strange, elongated footprints on the ground led deeper into the dense forest. Then, silence. The 2 of us searched desperately for Lucas for nearly an hour. No answer, no sign of a struggle, no blood. Only occasionally, from a distance, echoed, "Ethan." Sometimes a voice belonged to my father, sometimes to Lucas, and sometimes it sounded just like Sarah, even though Sarah was standing right next to me. My entire body was turning cold. We realized whatever was calling us could mimic human voices. Night was almost over. We decided we wouldn't stay here for another second. Leaving half of our gear behind, we began to run. The forest was now blanketed in heavy fog. We couldn't even find the path we had taken that afternoon. Every tree looked the same. Every shadow looked identical. Suddenly, Sarah grabbed my hand tightly and said, "Don't look back." "Why?" "Because someone is walking with us." I looked back anyway. In the faint beam of the dying flashlight, I saw, behind our 2 sets of footprints, another pair of footprints was forming on the ground. Yet there was no one. My heart felt as though it stopped beating inside my chest. We ran with everything we had. A few minutes later, in the distance by the roadside, we spotted our pickup truck. Nothing in life had ever looked so beautiful. The moment I opened the door, the engine started on the very first try. We drove away from there without looking back even once. The next morning, we went to the local sheriff's office and told them everything. They took a search party deep into the forest. The search went on for 2 days. Nothing was found except for Lucas's flashlight. Not his body, not his bag. No evidence whatsoever. The official report stated, "Presumed missing." But I know that isn't the truth. About a year after the incident, I received an envelope. There was no sender's name. Inside was only an old Polaroid photo. The photo was of our camp from that night. Ethan, Sarah, and Lucas sitting by the fire. I had never taken that photo, and none of us had a Polaroid camera. But the most terrifying part of the photo was something else. Hidden behind the trees in our background, a tall, Dark figure was standing, staring directly into the camera, and written by hand below the photo were just 3 words: "I'm still here." Even today, I never go into deep forest alone, and if someone ever calls out your name on a desolate forest path, please do not answer, because the one calling you might not be human. True Horror Vault. If today's story sent a chill down your spine, remember, humanity does not have answers to all of the world's mysteries. Deep within the vast forests of America, countless incidents remain buried to this day with no official explanation. Thank you for staying with True Horror Vault. We will return again with a brand new dark, mysterious, and chilling true horror story. Until then, stay vigilant, respect the darkness, and if someone calls your name deep in the forest at night, never answer.